All right, let's tackle a really interesting and maybe a little uncomfortable question. Why is it that good employees, people who are dedicated, who really care about their work, sometimes do bad things for their company? It's a huge paradox, and it happens more than you might think.
I want you to really think about this for a second. Imagine your big project is about to fail. Your team has poured their heart and soul into it, and you see a shortcut. Now, it's not exactly by the book, but hey, it would save the project and be a huge win for the company. What do? That very dilemma is right at the core of what we're digging into today.
So there's actually a term for this. Researchers call it unethical pro-organizational behavior, or UPB for short. You can think of it as a kind of crime, but one that's committed with the absolute best intentions to help the company win.
And here's the key part, right? It's all about the intention. This isn't your classic disgruntled employee trying to steal from the company or cause damage. No, this is the complete opposite. They are bending or even breaking the rules specifically because they believe it's what's best for the organization.
And this is exactly why this whole thing is so tricky and, frankly, so dangerous. See, from the inside, these actions might not even feel wrong. They get dressed up as being a team player or doing whatever it takes to get the job done. And that's where the slippery slope really begins.
And listen, this is not just some abstract idea from a research paper. When these small, well-intentioned rule bendings start to pile up, they can snowball into absolute disasters, the kind that end up all over the news. The paper we're looking at today points to massive scandals at huge companies, like the ones you're seeing right now, that were often born from this exact problem. Good people making bad choices for what they thought was the good of the company.
Okay, but here's where the plot really thickens. You'd think that a great, inspiring, motivational leader would be the perfect fix for this, right? Well, it turns out it's a whole lot more complicated than that. Seriously, just let this sink in for a minute, because what you're seeing here completely flips the script on what we think of as good leadership. Those styles that we're always told to admire, being charismatic, being transformational, other studies have actually found they can make the problem worse. They can increase the chances of an employee bending the rules for the company. It sounds totally backwards, I know, but there's a fascinating reason why.
So what's going on here? Well, when a leader builds up this incredibly powerful sense of mission, this intense loyalty, employees can start to feel like hitting that bigger goal is the only thing that matters. Their loyalty to the cause and to their leader can become so strong that it starts to silence their own inner moral compass.
Okay, so if those super popular leadership styles can actually backfire, then what's the answer? Well, the researchers behind this study point to a totally different way of thinking about it. They call it responsible leadership. Let's break down what that actually is.
The magic words here are all stakeholders. It's not just about your team or your shareholders, it's about everyone, your customers, your community, society as a whole. And it's this unique blend of being both deeply ethical and skilled at building relationships.
And that right there, that is the game changer. While other leaders might be laser-focused on hitting internal targets, responsible leadership zooms out. It takes a much bigger, more holistic view, and as we're about to see, that's what makes it so effective at building a truly ethical team.
So what's the secret sauce? How does this responsible leadership thing actually stop good people from doing bad things? Well, the answer, it turns out, is all about the quality of the one-on-one relationship between a leader and their people. This idea, leader-member exchange, or LMX, is pretty much the key that unlocks this whole puzzle. Think of it like this. What's the vibe between you and your boss? Is it just transactional? You do work, they pay you, the end? Or is it something more, something built on real trust, mutual respect, and support? That's LMX. And this visual from the study pulls it all together perfectly. You can see how responsible leadership has two paths. It directly helps reduce unethical behavior, sure, but it also works by building up these amazing high-quality relationships. And those relationships, they act like a bridge or a buffer that makes it so much less likely that people will feel the need to cut corners.
The researchers have a great name for this. They call it a trickle-down effect. You know, when employees see their boss day in and day out making decisions that are fair, ethical, and considerate of others, that behavior becomes the norm. It sets the standard. The leader models responsibility, not just results.
Okay, so the theory sounds solid, but what about the evidence? Did the data from their study of over 200 employees actually back all this up? Let's get to the findings.
And the results? Oh, they were crystal clear. First, the more responsible to leadership, the less unethical behavior they saw. Check. Second, responsible leaders had way better, higher quality relationships with their employees.
Check. And third, and this is the big one, the better those relationships were, the less unethical behavior there was. The whole theory held up.
And you have to understand, this is a huge finding. Because some older theories worried that if you had a really strong bond with your boss, you might be more willing to bend the rules for them. But this study shows the exact opposite is true. When that relationship is built on a foundation of true, responsible leadership, it actually becomes a force for good.
But wait, it gets even more interesting. The researchers found another layer to all of this, and it has to do with how long someone's been at the company. And this number, 7 years, turned out to be a really important line in the sand.
It turns out, for the veterans, the employees who've been with the company for over 7 years, the positive effect of a responsible leader was even stronger. It's like the trust and the ethical example set by that leader just builds and compounds over time, creating this incredibly powerful ethical armor for the most experienced employees.
So what's the practical advice here? What can companies actually do? Well, the research points to a pretty clear game plan. 1. Train your leaders to be responsible, not just charismatic. 2. Make building high-quality, trust-based relationships a core part of a manager's job. And 3. Change how you reward people. Recognize and celebrate responsible, ethical behavior, not just the final numbers on a spreadsheet.
At the end of the day, it all comes back to this one powerful idea from the study. A truly ethical company culture isn't about posters on a wall. It's built person by person from the top down. That leader's behavior literally trickles down, setting the tone and encouraging everyone to follow suit.
And that leaves us all with one final and pretty challenging question to think about for our own workplaces. Is the leadership around you building blind loyalty, or is it building true, deep, ethical responsibility? Because as we've seen, there's a world of difference between the two.